Hi, everybody. Welcome to Google Plus Business Spotlight, a show where each week we bring in live, real business owners to talk about how they're using Google Plus, the different parts of the platform, and the things that you might be able to try for yourself. I'm Stepan Hovnanian. I'm your host. I'm joined each week by Ben Fisher, who's down here in the film strip. Hi, Ben.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Good morning.
And today our guest is Lori Sawaya, right?
Right.
Awesome. I should have clarified that in the green room. I'm so sorry. I didn't even
No
think of
problem.
that. We were having so much fun talking about other really cool things that we're going to discuss today. And you know what? Before I turn the floor over to Lori and ask her to talk about her business, explain to you guys some of the things that she's doing on Google Plus, which are so cool. Talk about ROI as well. I think it'll be really neat. Just want to remind everybody to try and help support the show by using the hashtag #GPlusSpotlight. G plus spelled out, GPLUS Spotlight. Would really appreciate it, and definitely feel free to pin, share, tweet, or anything you guys can do to help get the word out about this show and all of our other amazing guests that we've had here on Google Plus Business Spotlight. All right, now without further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Lori. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, how you're using Google Plus, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Sawaya. I'm a color expert and strategist. I have been participating in social media in various formats for about 10 years now. So when Google Plus came around the corner, I was pretty excited. I'm mostly excited with Google Plus because long posts are acceptable almost to the point of they're beneficial. And we kind of had a period here for the last year and a half or 2 years where everything was about being brief. So I'm happy to see the community atmosphere and the conversations, and they're longer conversations. So I'm focusing on writing some of those longer posts and adding images into my Google Plus page because I'm seeing a direct correlation between doing that and traffic to my website.
Can't go wrong there. So let me ask you a quick question, Lori. Oh, and by the way, anybody who has questions for Lori, definitely please be sure to add them here in the event page. If you're watching live, that would be great because we want to try and bring some up. If you remember, we try and entertain some questions, and we're going to get into some really interesting topics, I think, in a few minutes that you guys will really love. So, on that note, tell us a little bit about. You said communities. So are you primarily focused on communities, or do you kind of mix it up? I mean, tell us a little bit about your routine on Google Plus.
I don't really focus 100% on communities. I never have. Even back in 2004, 2005, when that's really all there mostly were the forums, paint and decorating forums. I still did a little bit on Facebook. I've always tried to have a presence on Twitter as well as LinkedIn. So I do mix it up. And I've really just added Google Plus into that rotation. I can see it, though, at some point maybe taking up most of my time because it does provide a return on investment or traffic, if you want to call it, say it that way, more so than the others, I have to admit. So I don't spend all of my time on Google Plus, but I think some people do, right? I mean, I think that's primarily where you guys are.
Absolutely.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Google Plus addict, have to admit it.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. So all right, you're a color strategist. Now, do you post, I've got to imagine, you post primarily photos. You were saying you like to write the longer blog posts and all. Do you post photos as and then with the text inside with a link over to your website, or do you mix it up? I mean, tell us a little bit about, I guess, your posting strategy, especially as a color strategist, because you have the benefit of knowing this whole how we're all going to respond.
Well, I try. I hope. I hope I'm making a good guess. But since Google Plus, I don't spend all of my time there, and so the posts that I put on Google Plus are very strategic. So I do always include a photo. And I spend a little bit more time on my Google Plus photos than I do maybe like my Facebook photos or my Twitter photos because they're so big and the resolution is so awesome. So it's worth the effort. And So yeah, I do, and it always links either back to my Pinterest boards or to a blog post.
That's smart to cross-promote your Pinterest. I do that as well. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of the
Yeah.
cross-promoting Google Plus and Pinterest. So wait, when you pin stuff, do you ever pin directly from Google Plus and then
I
link back to
have.
Plus
I
post?
have done that. Yeah. I read that somewhere on a Google Plus tips page.
Cool.
And I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, it works out really well. I actually just, hey, quick shameless plug here. I tend to, there's a couple of us that have boards like this, but I have a board for myself of the Hangouts that I'm on, and I
Right.
pin the event page over to Pinterest so that it's, honestly, I do it so that I can find them afterwards. But it's cool because it brings people back to the event page, and now they can see all this engagement, whether it's today or tomorrow. They can see all the engagement, and it helps promote the page because Pinterest is awesome.
Right.
We have a great question from Jeffrey Johnson, who was our guest last week. He was fantastic. I'm going to bring it up here.
Jeffrey.
And it's a little bit more about your business. There we go. So how did you get started? Tell us a little bit about how you got started in the color arena.
I worked for a large yellow page company back in the day, and I worked myself into a position of graphic designer. And that was when you got a job and they trained you how to do everything they needed you how to do, right? So that's where I got all of my training and education, was with, it's now Verizon, it used to be GTE. And when I left, after about 15 years of doing that, I decided, that was after my second child. And I thought, well, that's okay, I'll just do graphic design out of my house. And then I found out how much it costs to have stuff printed. And it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be, because without the support of, a whole printing publication machine behind me, it was a very different story. And so that's when I thought, I need to split this up, and what's my favorite part of this whole job and what am I best at, and that was color, and that kind of evolved into the three-dimensional realm of architectural color.
Cool. So you put out an ebook about color strategy, right? First off, everybody go check out Lori's blog. It is so cool. Some amazing information. It's thelandofcolor.com. Go check it out. There's a ton of really, really amazing. I could probably spend hours there. But tell us about this ebook that you came up. That's actually how we connected, because I saw a post about it. But I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, I suck you in over at my website. You get to the land of color and you can't get out. I wrote an ebook. It's called Color Psychology and Meaning. And what I saw as a gap in the market was everybody talks about color psychology, and red means this, blue means that, green means this. And it's just the one color. It's just the one, usually very saturated version of the core hues. And as a designer, I use many different tints, tones, and shades of red to say many different things. Same with all the other colors. And so that's what I put into the book, is what colors say, but not just the saturated hues, what the tints, tones, and shades also say. So it's about 300 words and 25 different colors in the book. So it's an at-a-glance reference for what colors say. And about 2 months ago, we had it translated into Spanish.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's how we connected, because I saw and you met that person here, right, on Google Plus?
Isabel? Yeah, Isabel is a color expert. She's in Barcelona, Spain. We worked together to translate the book, and I've known Isabel for a number of years. We kind of, float in the same circles, even though she's in Spain and I'm here.
Great. Yeah, and so I had seen the post, and I said, wow, this is really cool. What a cool collaboratory effort. And
Totally.
That's actually how we connected to get you here on the show and talk about it. The Spanish thing's pretty interesting, because you have a you're in El Paso, so you're literally next to Mexico, and you have a huge Hispanic group of tribe, you were saying before. So can you tell us a little bit, because this is important for those of us who are on Google Plus that especially serve different markets culturally. Tell us a little bit about how we can use color on our blog posts or our Google Plus posts or wherever to speak to different cultures, because there's a difference, right?
There can be a difference. It depends. Every situation is unique, and it's really about customizing color for the product, the package, the page, the message. So when I'm designing images to put out there to share with everybody, literally the whole world, you really don't have a target. You really can't target any one thing. So my focus for my images and really how I use color online is it sending the right universal message? Because while color is cultural and symbolic and individual and subjective and all that other stuff, color is still a universal language, and that's really what my ebook speaks to as well. Is it's definitely an American sensibility to it, but working with Isabel, she also added the Spanish color sensibility when we translated it. So there's slight differences, but in general, I just kind of, if it makes sense to me and it fits with that universal language of color, then I go with it.
Perfect.
It has to make sense. I think the biggest takeaway is when you choose color for your images or you choose color for your web page, it needs to make sense with the message that you're sending, because whether you translate that message into French or Spanish or Italian or anything else, it's still the same message. So if you can explain how the color goes and supports the message, then I think you're good to go.
That's a great point, and we can use that on our Google Plus posts especially too, because we're so keyed in on finding maybe the right graphic that works with with a particular post, but there's also the elements of the color that go with that graphic too.
Right. And I think when people are reading your posts on Google Plus, they're looking for not just information, but once they start following you and reading your posts on a regular basis, they're looking for your point of view, and that eventually evolves to a point where they're looking for your opinion. So using those images and the colors to express, who you are and what your business is about is a good thing, because people are looking for that diversity and they're looking to get to know you, and color and images is a really good way to express what all that is, what you're about, I think.
That's a great point. I want to bring up another question from Jeffrey. It's another great one about a little bit more about your business too. Do you concentrate color strategy in a particular industry or multiple industries?
Do I focus on one industry and multiple industries? Let's see. I think I'm pretty diverse. There really isn't. I'm trying to think of something that I just really did not want to do. And you know what it was? It was a bowling alley. I just did not want to do a bowling alley. So industry-wise, I think I'm rather diverse, but every now and then something comes up and I just don't want to do it. Another thing that came my way a couple years ago was a hockey arena. It's like, I got in this big sports groove, and I don't know how, but somebody, on a forum posted a link, and then, it was actually about home theaters where it posted, and then a couple things followed, and I just wasn't into that. So I guess I am a little bit picky, Jeffrey, now that I think about it, but I try not to be.
That's great. So, all right, I have a question for you, because I am just personally, I'm starting, and I know we have a few people who are watching now that are kind of in the same boat. We're trying to up our game because that's not really what we're the most into. Maybe we like to write, or maybe we're programmers or whatever.
Sure.
But we recognize the need to up our game a little bit with respect to the images that we're using, especially again on our blog posts or our Google Plus posts. So do you have, I guess I'm just going to cut right to the chase here. Do you have any really good, strategies or ninja trick that we could use if we're creating especially a post for Google Plus to help people? Because photos get a lot of engagement. So, if we're going to put a photo up with a link to our website, is there anything that you've found that maybe gets people to click a little more, a little more frequently or something like that?
Yeah, I have a couple shortcuts to share with you. One
awesome.
is a blog called theyellowblissroad.com. She does a really good job with font suggestions, and she always has links to free downloads. So when people, if images and graphic design isn't really your skill set, and you're using Pixlr or PicMonkey or some of these other image editing programs that are a little more manageable than Photoshop, you can get, talk about getting sucked in. You can get sucked into the image thing really quickly, and before you know it, you've lost hours. And the two places where people trip up most often creating images for online is choosing the fonts that go together, and colors to support their images. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen here really quickly, and I'm going to show you one of my very favorite destinations to go for color.
Please do. Whoa.
Yeah. Let's not do that. Let's try that one more time.
So that was not the best place.
Of course it was, Ben. It was you and me.
Okay, there we go. So this is one of my images on my Pinterest board, and you can see in the eyeball there's all kinds of colors to choose from. So when you have an image like this open in an image editing program like Pixlr or PicMonkey, you want to use your eyedropper to click on someplace in the image to get the hex code. And I'm just going to pick this blue. And it copies the hex code for you. And then there's a website called Color Schemer, and that's where we are now. I don't know if you guys can see that. And on Color Schemer, you can set the hex code. I'm going to paste it in there. And what Color Schemer does is it gives you 15 colors to coordinate with that primary dominant color in your image. So instead of spending a bunch of time clicking around trying to figure out what colors to use to make your fonts or for a border, you can go right to Color Schemer and it will give you 15 suggestions, and you can choose to lighten the scheme or darken the scheme. So you have about 48, 50 colors to play with, and that's a real time saver. If you can stay out of the swatch box and off of that color wheel, you can trim a lot of time off of creating images.
That's a huge tip.
What is that eyedropper?
Them and then pull them off and put them up on Google Plus, and the hope is that they'll be a little bit more enticing, or at least more natural, right? That's really what you're going for.
Yeah, and that's it takes some of the thought process out of it. Some people have real attitudes about computer-generated palettes, but they have a place. If the choice is to sit there and spend a half an hour trying to find just the right blue to match your image, or you can pull the eyedropper tool from your toolbox in your image editing program and click on the primary dominant color in the image and have it do the work for you, you should let it do the work for you. And the other thing about computer-generated images is that it's mathematical. So all of the colors that it suggests to go with your primary color, your dominant color of your image, is equidistant around the color circle. That's how the algorithms work. So if it's complementary or analogous or triadic, it's all mathematically based, which is another bonus because those mathematically created color schemes are going to be consistent across devices. So whether the color looks the same to you on your iPhone as it does to me on my Android isn't the point. The point is it will still be mathematically correct as far as a color scheme goes. So it travels across devices a lot more gracefully than if you sit there and you try to randomly choose the colors that you think look good with that image based solely on what you're seeing on your monitor. Does that make sense?
It makes a ton of sense. I have a quick story from me. I had a client who had a certain purple in mind, and I found it. It was perfect, and I showed it to her, and she's like, "What are you doing? This is like the absolute wrong purple." And it turned out that I have two monitors, and one of them is digital, one of them's analog. So I moved it over to the analog one, and yeah, she was totally right. It was a horrible color. It was like all washed out, piece of junk. So we had to just rethink the whole thing. So yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
I'm sure with the difference between some of the higher def screens on our phones and tablets compared to maybe some of our computer monitors, those of us I guess without MacBooks, there's that. I like your point about it being relative. That's clutch.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for
It
the
is.
tip. You know what? Let's real quick. Let me throw these up here because Ben has been totally fantastic about putting these domain names into our comments, but I want to get them up here on YouTube forever. So we have colorschemer.com for hex codes and getting a bunch of different coordinated colors.
Right.
And then the other one is font suggestions from the Yellow Bliss Road.com.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
These are great. Did you have another one? You had another one on here. No. So awesome. Well, let's see. What else can we talk about here? I have. Do you have any other good tips or suggestions about, maybe bringing landing pages or just combining what you're doing color-wise with, again with especially with Google Plus, because I know that here you go, Snapseed, or some of the built-in Google Plus filtering, pieces to it. Have you ever played around with any of them? What do you think?
I have played around with them, but I'm a Photoshop kind of girl, so I don't really do a whole lot with the apps and the plugins. But I can see how those are wonderful options because there's a huge learning curve with everything Adobe. And what I noticed about what Google Plus is offering is that it's like super, super user friendly. And if you don't get something, the kind of support that's out there on the Google Plus forums is amazing.
Do you say forums? Do you mean the actual forum, the old-fashioned product forums, or the communities themselves? Because there's still two. Unfortunately, not everything is switched over to communities yet.
It's actually a little bit of both because I have been on those Google forums before, mostly for YouTube stuff. So yeah, you're right. There are forums and there are communities, but I meant to say communities. I need to get those terms straight because now we actually have two resources: forums and communities, not just forums.
I led you into that one because I wanted to bring up that point for everybody watching.
It's a good one.
Remember that there's the Google Plus communities and there's topical ones, but there's also official product forums too. I think you can find them through support.google.com. That's usually how you end up navigating your way over to them. They're a bit hidden, but there's a lot of discussion over in those, and usually you can find some great advice if you need it. So,
well, I'm glad you called out that URL because I honestly don't know how I ever landed there, but I just know that I eventually at some point found my way there, and I was very grateful. So,
it was probably in a search result or something. They're obviously their posts come up pretty well in search.
I have a question for you, Lori, really quickly about calls to action and how people can get a little bit more play out of their posts. I mean, we know we touched about this a little bit earlier on, but when you're doing a post, when people see it, there's basically 4 lines that they can see visibly before they have to expand the post. And so usually one tactic is on the 4th line, somebody will drop a link, right?
Yeah.
So now if we want to get people to click on that link, is there some kind of color, since the bluish hue, when somebody's hovering over the post, is there some kind of complementary color that you could say put at the top of an image that would kind of entice people to click through to that link?
There are all kinds of color strategies about what colors are clicked most often. All kinds. Green is usually the least attractive for people to click. Orange followed by an orange-red, and hot pink. I usually go for hot pink to the reds, and I've kind of dabbled a little bit in the orange. So if it's a buy now or sign in now or give me your email here now kind of a button, if I design it, it's usually orange, red, orange, or hot pink.
So if we want to get somebody to say, just click a link from a Google Plus post to go over to our website, then it would be a good idea is to use kind of like that red, orange, or maybe that hot pink color even to get people to click on the blue link.
Well, if you're talking about call to action buttons or if you're talking about call to action links, I think those are two different discussions. I'm old school, and I like my links, my links to click, the URLs, to be blue.
Well, and that's how it is on Google Plus. So I think, boy, that was sneaky, Ben. I like that. So what you're kind of hinting at is if you had this photo, this image in your Google Plus, but somebody sees it in their stream, and picture. Let's look at the top of my lower third. Pretend that's the top of the photo, and then right here is like the last line before it says read more. So what Ben's kind of saying is there, short of putting little arrows that point up to it to kind of, this way, to kind of entice you to like look at that, that link and maybe click on it. Are there any sneaky? Gosh, that was interesting. I'm gonna try that. Create like a little framed, photo one of these days, and see if maybe we can get some click-throughs that way. That could be really, really interesting. Does that make more sense? Does that make sense what I just described?
And then not to mention, I mean, you could actually A/B test it, because you can get the number of photo views and look at your click-through rates and use a shortener, and there you go. Calculate ROI.
Sneaky. I love it.
Definitely a fan of the shorteners.
Yeah, shorteners are great. Shorteners. I'm a custom shortener kind of guy. I'd rather, because for me, like the bit.ly links, I don't know. I want to see what it is, and to me, the bit.ly and even goo.gl, it's just I don't know what's on the other side. Oh gosh, Bill Ashton, you're hysterical. Should we click on Stepan's shirt? Yes. You'll tickle me though. All right. We've actually come to the end here of our show. I hope you guys have gotten a lot of great information. Before I wrap it up, Lori, any final things you want to plug? I know you have something really interesting coming out. Tell us quickly about it.
I do. I have a new app coming out in a couple of weeks. It's called LRV Guru, and it's about light reflectance value, which is one of the hottest topics on my blog. It's what drives the most traffic and drives the most conversation online and offline for me. And light reflectance value factors into color design across the board, whether you're talking about signs or the built environment. And it's a handy-dandy formula that we've used, that color designers have used for years for calculating contrast ratio between two colors. And so I have an ebook coming out that explains the history of LRV, where it came from, how we're using it today, and the app actually does the calculation for you. And it works with a handy little device called a node. I don't know if I can get it in the right place. This is what it looks like, and you can actually use, it's a colorimeter. You can actually use this device to scan the two colors, and it works with the app. So if you don't know the light reflectance value, you can scan it and get it with this, and then the app does all the work for you.
That sounds really, really cool. Really cool. Is it Android and iOS, or just iOS?
It's only iOS right now. We'll probably do Android towards Christmas time, maybe.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Lori. Again, I hope everybody's had a lot of good information from today. If you're inclined to share, please try and use the hashtag G+Spotlight. No, not G+Spotlight.com, just G+Spotlight. Help support the show. And keep an eye out for Lori and her app. Check out the Pinterest board. Gosh, don't get sucked in too much to her blog, but you're going to have a hard time with that because it really is fantastic. And try a few different things with color on your posts, especially on your Google Plus photos. Talked a lot about that kind of stuff today. I hope it was helpful. Join us next week, and we have actually Unbounce, landing page optimization company, is going to be joining us. Very excited about that. So come check us out at G+Spotlight, the hashtag, and you'll find all the information you need pretty much. And for Ben and myself and Lori, I want to thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you next week.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. It was great talking to you.
Thanks again. Take care.
Thanks, Lori.
Bye, everyone.